the UNESCO Biosphere Bee Community Picnic. Now, you might have heard of it, you'll have heard of a picnic, you might have heard of the biosphere, you've definitely heard of bees. Well, we're going to have a chat around the table about the whole concept here today and the various aspects of what it all means. I suppose we'd better start off by saying, what do we mean by biosphere? Because a lot of people talk about the biosphere, it's sort of it's bandied around quite a bit, but what do we need by biosphere, Breeshey?
So the Isle of Man is a biosphere reserve. It's the first and only entire nation to have that accolade, and biosphere reserves globally have three major functions, which are conservation, learning and sustainable development. Local biosphere reserves are basically tasked with creating their own strategies, their own management plan, and Biosphere Isle of Man is managed in a holistic way. We've released our vision and strategy for the next 5 years that focus on the 5 E's, which are economy, enjoyment, education, environment and engagement. And this project is basically a really nice one because it hits all of those E's in different ways. So yeah, it's a very, very biosphere project in the holistic management sense.
Okay, so we're talking, there's your idea of what the biosphere is. So what about this concept of the picnic? How did this come about? Muriel Garland, I believe this was one of your ideas.
Yes, I'm the guilty party. It originated from the Eden Project in Cornwall, which people know about. And they have what they call the big lunch. And the idea is that people in any situation can get together and have a picnic or a street party or get together for lunch, and it's to encourage people to interact with the environment, to meet their neighbours, and sort of foster community. So
the idea was to sort of copy that idea on a local basis on the island?
I just took that idea and I thought it could work for Biosphere Isle of Man.
How did this concept sort of come into reality? Because these things don't happen overnight.
So I joined the project last year, and of course Muriel sits on our stakeholder partnership group, and she'd proposed the idea back in 2019 before I started, and then of course we were all hit with COVID. So when I joined, it was a case of we were coming out of COVID again, and it kind of applied even more so because we were kind of reconnecting communities. Social isolation had become a bigger kind of problem, and of course supporting local business is more important than ever. And so we decided it's time to get this out there, and we've basically worked up a digital package. So when you sign on to do a Biosphere Bee, anyone can do it. We've got at the minute 22 registrations, and you receive a full digital package including all of our logos. You get invitations, posters to fill out. You can invite whoever you want or make it a public affair, and we have a full guidance pack surrounding sustainability, local food and drink, and basically we're happy to answer any questions anybody has in terms of if they've got queries around the organisation or setup of the picnic. But it's kind of just a way to get people to be able to do their own thing.
So where did the bee part come into it? Was that you, Muriel, or did that come from someone else? Because I take it's that dual purpose.
I do remember that up at the hospital there was the Thai bee, which I used to wonder what it meant. I knew Thai was house, and bee is the Manx for food, apparently. So there was a nice tie in there with the bees as well.
Exactly, it has that sort of dual meaning. Because the first time I saw it, I thought, oh, bee, as bee. But it's, and it does have that dual meaning. So bees, which are obviously very important for the environment, as we know. And then bee, the Manx word for food as well. Fits in very nicely.
Means a gathering of people too.
Really?
So it's kind of like a three meaning thing. So, and we went for the bee icon just because it was quite a happy, friendly bee. So it's kind of... Hopefully people did think it was a beekeeping event, but I think the message has gone out there now that it's a bit more than that. So,
And Claire, how important do you think concepts like this are for the department and for engaging people with what we've got here on the island?
I just think anything where it brings things to life is just so positive, and especially the fact that it's got those other tangible benefits as well around encouraging people to explore local produce and really see what's available, and also make sure that they're keeping their footprint low, getting out into the environment and enjoying that. And then also well-being benefits that come from spending time out in our countryside, and we've got such a rich countryside here on the Isle of Man, and I think it's one of those things where sometimes having an event, you sort of think, actually let's do something here, and it forces you to go and appreciate those things that sometimes I think we do take for granted.
It's true, I think that is very true. So how is it going to work then? We all know how to have a picnic. We used to have Manx picnics when I was a kid, where everyone would sit in the car and pass pork pies and things around and such like, and we'd go out and do it regardless in any case. But how is this going to work then? So we've got this concept, we've got the idea out there, we're trying to encourage people to come out and embrace this idea of having picnics out in the community, sustainable picnics, engaging with local foods, engaging with our environment. What are people going to do?
I mean, at the moment, we've got a really nice kind of breadth of picnics, and it's exactly what we wanted to see. We've got schools, we've got churches, we've got scouts groups, we've got beekeepers. We've kind of got all the sectors that we were, and just general neighbourhoods and friends and families. The picnic is kind of encouraged to be held through April to September, just to kind of capture the weather. And it's a case of basically working up whatever you want it to be, whether you want it to be a creative thing. I mean, we've given a lot of guidance around how you can make some nice art in nature from what you find, whether it's to meet new people. And the organisers of the picnic, they will have all of the kind of resources there to plan it and work it up and get the message out to whoever they want to invite. And yes, like I say, over the next few months, we're hopefully going to get a few more registrations come through. We're going to organise our own at DEFA throughout the summer months, it's all really in the resource package that you get online, and we're hoping again that this will kind of continue into the following years, and it'll just really support the local food and drink scene as well.
The good thing is the flexibility of it. The big lunch from the Eden project was like the first weekend in June, so it's like a fixed time, but with ours you've got that flexibility to do it whenever it suits you, and to have it of the size that you want. It can be small or large. You can have bunting and music or whatever you want to have.
Anything goes.
Yes.
Anything goes. Well, you can't have a picnic without food, and this is bringing this whole element again of celebrating and enjoying a breadth of Manx food. Adrian, tell us a little bit more about the actual sort of food market here then, because it's boomed over, I think, in recent years. We seem to have more artisan producers and a greater breadth of food offerings and drink offerings on the Isle of Man than ever before.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of our role. So Isle of Man Food and Drink is the Isle of Man's food and drink sector brand. So we promote and work with businesses across the island. The Biosphere Bee Picnic's a great opportunity, I think, to engage with local producers. If you're not sure where to get it from, I think most of the local retailers are now stocking. We've worked really hard to make sure we've got local produce in as many shops as possible. But then on our website, Isle of Man Food and Drink, you can look at the directory and find businesses right across the Isle of Man that produce things. So you can either buy them from the shop, or you can generally approach the businesses directly. So not really any excuse not to have local produce in your picnic.
Yeah. And important for you, Sarah, from the farmer's point of view, to actually have people engaging with local foods and thinking about perhaps where their food comes from, the provenance of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think it's really good. The combination has just been talked about of using as much local produce as possible, but doing it in a very local environment, so getting out there into the countryside. And one idea we had that we'd still be happy to put forward is people could communicate with us for a location. A few farms have said they'd be more than happy to accommodate a picnic as well.
Yeah.
And what would be really nice about that is it ties it all together again with local produce. So yeah.
And how would people do that? It sounds a great idea, but how would people actually do that?
They can communicate with us at the union. We've got a list of farms that are happy to engage in these projects, or have kind of got the facilities to be able to do it, really, because that's what we need. And there are a few farms that have set up. I mean, they can accommodate schools. And a lot more of them are engaging in that at the moment, especially with the AES scheme. That they're kind of the agri-environment scheme. They're kind of becoming more and more interested in engaging with schools and local groups to create more of this kind of like the whole story of food, so that you've got your end product, but you also know where your food's coming from. So that's really important, and that's something that we're trying to get across.
And I think people are more and more interested in that now, aren't they? Where the provenance of food. I think 30, 40 years ago, people didn't really give a monkeys, it seemed to me, but now people want to know.
We've got quite a story to tell here. I mean, our food story is quite an impressive one, and it's just making sure that people really do get to see that. that can make all the difference.
I think it's probably gone full circle because, if you look back 100 years, everyone knew their food came locally. And then as things moved further away, people started to take for granted and I think thought less about it because it was more about the convenience. And as we've seen with some of the geopolitical situations, certainly now, with the war in Ukraine, and equally through COVID, people are starting to think actually the food that's going to be here when times are troubled is the local food. And so it's really important we support that all the time, not just at those difficult times, because otherwise when we do need it, it's not there. And especially when we're thinking about climate change and food miles, I think there's just so many reasons to shop local. And we've got such an abundance of brilliant quality food on the Isle of Man, and our farmers are out there working 365 or 366 days some years, producing this food. Our fishermen are going out, to bring these items back to our shores. And for me, it's absolutely brilliant when we can use it here, rather than seeing it then just packaged up and sent off for other people to enjoy. So I think anything we can do to promote that, actually enjoying that local food, and the taste is just so different. It's got such rich taste that you just don't get when you're buying stuff that's flown around the world.
That's what I was going to say. Actually, it's not really a hard sell when you look at the actual products that you've got here. What does get produced here? I mean, the quality is exceptional, so that does actually make it story easier to sell. I think because our welfare standards are so high, the quality of the produce is so high, our environmental credibility is so high already that I think just, connecting up with people more on those stories is really important, and I think this is a great way of doing it.
Yeah, and you finding that, Adrian, you think when it comes to sort of marketing Manx foods, is this something that people do buy into now more?
Oh, very much so, and most of our businesses have had a very difficult few years, of course, as most businesses have around the world, but the local community are really connecting with it, I think. I think seasonality is something that people just need to consider as well. So buying strawberries in December, clearly not going to be a local product, but you can buy local strawberries, so and they're readily available whilst they're in season. So I think when you're thinking about being sustainable, there are very simple things that you can do to reduce your own carbon footprint. One of those things is to buy local produce and seek out seasonal produce throughout the year, as we used to do once upon a time. We've been spoiled by the supermarkets who will fly things in from all around the world at any time of year. But if we really want to make a difference, then thinking about where our food comes from and what's available in the different seasons of the year is super important.
And just to add to that seasonal aspect, I think through the pandemic with the difficulty with, queuing in supermarkets and social distancing, I certainly started to grow a lot more of my own food at home. And I think that's just a nice little thing that a lot more people are starting to, just growing herbs on windowsills or, some veg in a planter out the back sort of thing. And it just means that you can learn a lot more about food and appreciate it a little bit more too. And it's a big thing of pride for me when I harvest my veggies and things like that. It's like you feel so proud, and it's just a really nice thing to do. And I think
in a weird way, lockdown has actually helped people to understand that more. It's forced people to look more locally about what they can source locally and what they could have delivered, and it's created opportunity for businesses as well to diversify into other products. So whilst it's been terrible, it's actually been it's probably helped the movement as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's true. Every cloud has a silver lining, and not decrying obviously the terrible time so many businesses and families have had throughout lockdown and COVID. There have been elements like this where people have appreciated their environment more, they've appreciated their localities more. They've appreciated, going out, having a walk in the country, swimming in the sea, and perhaps local foods and, like you say, growing veggies and all. Like, it has had that sort of knock-on effect. Now, you mentioned, Sarah, going out to farms, and maybe you can have your bee picnic anywhere, really. You can have a street party, you can have it in the country. If people are out in the countryside and just thinking about, health and safety and working actually in the environment, are people okay generally if they're going out into farms, going out in the country and actually, taking their litter with them, following the country code, closing gates or whatever? Is that still a concern for people or for the farming community?
Yeah, absolutely. That leads me on to something else, actually, quite conveniently. We've just produced a booklet, a little storybook for kids that we want to put out to primary schools. where we, as the union, want to do visits into schools with our book about the Countryside Code, and it's just a little few guidelines for kids when they're out with their families, and we're hoping that that will lead on to us doing a little more work around sort of reinforcing the Countryside Code specifically for the Isle of Man. I mean, the rules are still the same, but we just want to make people identify it with the Isle of Man a little bit more. So we've got, it is another story, this one, but we've based it on Paula Creer from Local Farm. Had two animals. She had a calf and a lamb, and it was her idea to sort of base the Countryside Code story around these two characters.
Oh, nice.
So that's what we've done, but they are actual characters in existence, and they're called Jelly and Oof.
I like it.
And they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We took them to the Food and Drink Festival last year, and they were a big hit, so they'll be coming with us on school visits as well.
And just to add to that, of course, I mean, without sounding like the fun police in the kind of, sustainability package that we have worked up, I mean, it's common sense more than anything, and I completely trust that, our picnic holders are going to be on their best behaviour, but we have kind of detailed, like, please don't bring single-use plastic straws or cups or anything that's completely unnecessary in that respect, when you can bring reusable items. I mean, you can get reusable everything now, and picnic baskets are obviously not a thing of the past, so I mean, it's just a case of take all of your litter back with you, recycle everything that you can, and of course there's not a huge amount of bins across the countryside, and that's why it's important to factor that in, and to make sure you kind of leave it as you found it, or if not better. And there's some guidance in there too about how to make little things in nature to be able to add to that environment. So yeah, we obviously just want, the most important thing is for people to enjoy themselves and have fun, so we don't want lots and lots of rules, but we obviously need people to appreciate the environment.
I think one of them might be avoid disposable barbecues.
Yeah, that's an important point. I think,
and one that comes back to us quite a lot at the Farmers Union is leave a gate as you found it. Don't necessarily shut every single gate, but just leave it as you found it, because it's probably, if it's open, it should be open for a reason.
Yeah.
And again, at any point, if anyone has questions, or if they're a little bit, I don't know if I should be here or be there, again, it's all in the guidance pack, but we do encourage people to connect with landowners if it's a private area of land, to make sure that they're okay to be there. But we're always at the end of biosphere@gov.im for any kind of guidance or questions to be answered.
And it's an interesting, you sort of read my mind there talking about the picnics, and I think in a way we've sort of gone back a bit, haven't we? Because when I was a kid going out, I don't remember actually having the hamper. I don't think we were that posh, but we'd have shopping bags or something that we would bring out, and you'd have your flasks, and then you'd bring in, like as you brought today, you brought your own mug. We'd have these sort of mugs which would be used again. They were sort of unbreakable ones. I think they were plastic, but they'd last for 30 years or more. You'd use them forever, and they were sort of, and then you'd bring things in bags and whatever, and it wasn't all sort of instant stuff that was thrown out, and that's the slight problem now, isn't it? People sort of go to supermarkets or whatever and just get things in. It's all ready, but it's all a plastic tray, a plastic or whatever. It's so nice if you're doing this, I think, to really think about, right, how can we do it in a way that we're actually not going to be chucking a whole bin full of plastic afterwards. We can have our meal, have great fun, take it back, wash up and do it again.
Absolutely. And I say it all the time, but it's a very new thing, is this throwing everything away. So it is just a mindset thing, and we can all quite easily get into that mindset, I think, and a lot of us, most of us are. And yeah, just like you say, it's just very important to think about these things.
You think the mindset is changing, Muriel, on this when it comes to plastics? Are we getting better? Is it a bit of an uphill battle?
It is a battle, yes.
Are we taking on more? Are people taking on board more, I think, now than they were 10, 20 years ago?
Yes, but I think progress on the island here is slow.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Just laziness, or?
I'm tempted to say we need a bit of sort of direction from the top, and more facilities for recycling.
Okay. Now, of course, it's about the food, it's about the environment, it's actually getting out there. You can theme your parties as well, so you can sort of, parties, your picnics, so you can give them, I was looking at some of the ideas there, you can sort of have a food-themed one, or you can take, I quite like the idea of one maybe going out, and again, this is getting back to engaging with the environment, going out and having your picnic, but maybe trying to see while you're there possibly how many different species of bird you can see or something like that. That's quite a good idea, I think, to engage with that one. Is that does anyone like to pick up on that one?
Yeah, I mean, from a biodiversity point of view, we are, again, it's something that everyone loves animals. I don't think there's anyone out there who can say they don't like wildlife or nature. I think it's just really important to kind of get out there, and perhaps a lot of people might not actually know a great deal about our local biodiversity, and I think educating yourself and being able to spot the different animals and be able to kind of recognise a certain bird's call or something like that, it's little things that I think really add to your well-being, and you know, things that are free, things that are just there and they're free and they're beautiful, and you know, it's all very, you know, it's all there on our doorstep. We don't have to travel great distances at all. You know, most of us were within 10 minutes or of a beach or a glen or just a green space, and we have an amazing selection of wildlife here. And again, all through DEFA's website, you know, you can look at the biodiversity strategy, and we're trying really hard to kind of encourage more people to engage with nature and biodiversity, and you know, a lot of people are now creating bird boxes, and we've got bat boxes.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on, and so many little kind of triumphs around the island, I would say. And yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed with wildlife, but I think that more people are kind of getting to know. I mean, even yesterday I was in Peel and there's just dolphins, you know, jumping in the background, and it's just such a beautiful place to see all this stuff. So I think it's another, and in the artistic world, people are so inspired by our biodiversity, and you know, you could go out with a pen and paper and sketch some birds or flowers or whatever you want, really.
And you mentioned the diversity there. The one thing, a little thing that caught my eye, bearing in mind it is the bee community picnic. Bees and of course honey, and a lot of people like honey on, you know, honey sandwiches, honey on whatever, honey in their drinks. An interesting little note, I think, in one of the sort of health and safety aspects, which had never struck me before. Say, if you're going out and you're taking your honey with you, don't leave the jar open. Yes,
that is quite an important one actually, because swarms of bees will be attracted to honey, and so yeah, keep the lids on, because it can actually be dangerous to the swarm if it's not their own honey. So that is quite an important one to bear in mind, and obviously, you know, it's quite a danger as well if you're going to have swarming bees too, so just try and keep the lids on at all times. And please use local honey too.
No shortage of good local honey to be found on the Isle of Man, it has to be said. People are going out, so they're having their picnics again, so we're sort of sharing the ideas to share these picnics on social media. This is the thing, so people can actually see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's obviously up to the organisers, but we'd love to see the pictures going out, and we've got our kind of hashtags on social media, #BiosphereB, and I'll try and make it to any that I can. I think Manx Utilities are doing one over the weekend for staff and families at one of the reservoirs, so I'm going to try and make them, but I can't obviously guarantee I can make all of them. I mean, I'd love to get paid for going to picnics all the time, but probably my manager might have something to say if I was just gallivanting off to all these things. But yeah, please do share and show us what you're up to, and most importantly, Gol Soilage, have fun. You know, it's all about having fun and engaging with people and nature.
And I think this is part of it. Do have fun, do get out there, do things which are sustainable and obviously responsible. We're out in the countryside. Coming back to you for a second, Claire, I know you've come from a nursing background, and the whole point of this, to a large degree, or at least part of the point of this, again, is this idea of engaging with communities, engaging with your environment, and I think it's proven beyond a doubt now that if you're actually part of a community, part of an environment, and you're actually celebrating sort of the green spaces that you actually have around you, this is just really beneficial for mental health.
We talked about taking photographs of the picnic, but I mean, I would say take a camera maybe rather than a phone. Go there and really appreciate the environment you're in, and really look, because I think sometimes we walk, you know, I said before, we do take some of the stuff for granted. You know, we're always rushing from one place to another, and we've got these beautiful landscapes to look at and enjoy, and the people we're going there with as well. So I think take the opportunity to talk to people, take the opportunity sometimes to just sit and just be in the moment. But I think this gives that opportunity, you know, for people to do that and to enjoy that time, as you say, as a community around local Manx produce, and really celebrate what we have. So there's just so many different benefits, to my mind, of this project, which is why I think it's so exciting.
And I think also as well as the celebration of the food, celebrating the environment, as you mentioned the word there, communities, and the Isle of Man as a whole is a community, and quite small in a global scale, I suppose, but within our own local community of 86,000 people here, there's a whole load of little communities, and I think part of the concept of this is maybe try and bring some of those together.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's often the case, isn't it? You don't always spend time with those people who are near to you, but as Breeshey said, you can do this whether it be with a youth group, whether it be with your extended family, whether you look at through one of your other organisations people might be involved in, or whether it be the school. And we would hope if someone goes to a Biosphere Bee picnic, they might then take that away and organise one with something else, and having that longer period of time over the whole summer I think allows for some of that. But equally, if people have a picnic and they're enjoying some of these things and they haven't arranged it formally, I think we'd all say don't worry though, still tag it, and be part of it, and maybe organise another one. I think the summer on the Isle of Man, despite the weather sometimes putting paid to things, is still a great time to go out and enjoy the environment. And I think, as you said, Howard, sometimes you do end up sort of sitting in the car with the kids, and I've done it myself, and that's just life. And I remember doing it when I was a little girl as well. Nothing's changed, but you can still have an absolutely fabulous day, parked up out looking out over the seascapes of the Isle of Man, watching the birds fly by, and you can do that in the car as well. So I think don't be put off if the weather doesn't play quite the right way. I think don't be downhearted. I think that's all part of that's all part of our island, and I think sometimes we just have to celebrate whatever the weather.
Absolutely. The Manx picnic, I used to call it, when you were sitting in the car, or two cars. If we had the whole kids, you have two cars
with the
really
windows
close
down,
together
passing
somewhere.
stuff between.
Passing stuff between.
We've all been there.
That was the
Down at
Manx.
Beach.
Yeah, the Manx picnic or Glenmore or something like that. It's a wonderful story. It's a terrific idea, and you were mentioning there. I mean, the island is still a very rural environment in many ways, and I think. Well, you only have to look at something like the Farmers' Concert to realise that sometimes you forget we're a farming community, and then you sort of see some of these things, you realise how big the farming community, how important it still is on the Isle of Man. I suppose it's this whole idea of people are getting out and thinking more about their environment. The more people are out there, the more people are going to appreciate it, Sarah, and maybe realise what we've got, and perhaps also think about the fact that an awful lot of our land, is looked after by the farming community.
Yeah, I think that it's a really good thing, especially as we're kind of trying to come out of this past couple of years where we have all been locked down and isolated from each other, and our lives have been lived a little bit virtually. I know the farming community are really keen to reconnect with the rest of the community in the island, and it's really lovely where that's happening. It's working really well. So absolutely, yeah, everybody should be able to responsibly enjoy what a beautiful environment we've got.
And Adrian, just thinking again, when it comes to sort of new foods, and we have seen this real boom in sort of foods on the Isle of Man, is it sort of, I say the chicken before the egg, but if you'll excuse the slight pun again, is it sort of farmers who's come up with an idea and say, I'm thinking of doing whatever it might be in this product, or is it the other way around sometimes that we're thinking about, well, we could get this product, or we would benefit from having this product on the Isle of Man and doing it locally and then approaching the farming community?
I think there's a bit of both.
I
There's
was
a
going
pull
to say
system,
bit of both,
custom,
yeah.
and I'm keen, and I've spoken about this quite a lot, which it's customer demand. So you need to make it known that this is something that you want. Producers have diversified very well over the last few years with the challenges they've got, but if it's something that you think that you want, then you can speak to me, or you can speak to another producer who's in that field, whether it be a drink or whether it be a baked good or whether it be meat, or ask. We're very good now at the moment in producing products which are not from the Isle of Man or even from the British Isles, so we're getting ranges of South African delicacies which locals wouldn't necessarily know, but we're now getting the opportunity to try products that are produced here using local ingredients but based on another country's product as well. So I think we're getting a real melting pot now of interesting local food. But again, it's demand led. So please buy the products when you see them. Please look for them. Look for the provenance label as well. We issue a provenance label to businesses who can prove that their product is made either 100% from a local produce, then it's a product of Isle of Man, and if it's a product that uses products that aren't made or grown or produced in the Isle of Man, then it can be a made in. But you can be assured if you see those labels on a product that it genuinely is a locally produced or made product with passion and love, and Howard, you've met a lot of our producers around the Isle of Man, very, very passionate about what they do.
Absolutely.
But if it's something you think a producer could do that would be very, very popular, hey, please tell them. totally.
But that really plays into local economy as well, though, doesn't it? You know, that's like if people are seeking out local produce here and local producers and processors, if they're seeking those products out, that's having such a beneficial effect on our whole economy. It's not just farmers; it's all those peripheral businesses around farms. It's all those small like food producers and processors, the people who've created their own small business. You know, the knock-on effect of buying local produce is brilliant for an island.
Yeah, and I think not just having that finished product too. I mean, we have oil, we have sea salt. We have things that you can bake and cook with. That is also from the Isle of Man. So I think it's brilliant.
It's a terrific concept. Hopefully lots of people are going to engage with it. As we've been giving you a flavour of it here, it can be any size, it can be anywhere within reason. You can have whatever you like as long as you keep it local. And again, that other important aspect, I think, to go out with it, try to think about going out and bringing your own plates you can reuse, bringing your own mugs, having foods which you've prepared at home, so you eat the foods, take back any food you haven't eaten, finish it off for supper or for breakfast the next day, as I do, and keep it sustainable. So you're not going to leave your mark wherever you've been. You leave the place as it was when you got there. I did a suggestion somewhere you can actually go to DEFA headquarters and possibly, because they've got lovely grounds down there.
Absolutely, we've got, not only have we got the Slue Wally and Glen, we've got the Gare and the Cloy, the Gardens of Play, and all of the species of trees, and it's beautiful out there. We've got amazing birds, there's tree creepers and all sorts. I get excited every time I see one, and definitely head out to DEFA grounds, it's amazing.
So who's going to have a picnic? Anyone around the table thinking of having a picnic of their own?
But I've got a number of different organisations I'm involved with that I really fancy doing picnics with. Although my husband will be like, Claire, you just can't take anything else on. But no, I've been involved with the Beavers, Isle of Pride as well, and I just think actually there's such synergies between these organisations, and just that idea of getting people together, getting out and really celebrating everything that it means to be Manx. I think that's, we're here on this beautiful island with such rich resources in terms of our landscapes, in terms of our local produce, and in terms of our community, and I think this brings all those things together. So I'm really hoping that we can put a couple of events on.
Terrific. Adrian, you bring together all the best food and drink suppliers for one massive picnic somewhere?
We've got the Food and Drink Festival coming up in September.
The agricultural shows.
And the agricultural show, so there's a good plug. I mean, my family and we're out pretty much every weekend, and so you could judge that we have a picnic every weekend because we always take food with us. Yeah. We're always out walking or climbing, and obviously we try and source as much local produce. I know who they all are, so it's easy for me. But that's what we do, and so I'm taking part of it on a regular basis, to be honest. But there's some great stuff.
Sarah, a regular picnicker or not, or no time, or in the car?
Not terribly often. However, I do feel like if we do manage to get out for a walk and a picnic on a weekend, it does feel like a huge achievement, because I've actually managed to get everyone out of the house and we've got some food and we're going for a walk, and that in itself is quite a big achievement in our house, so I feel quite proud if we do that.
And Muriel, what about you? You like to get out and get the rug out?
I've sort of changed my lifestyle because we had 2 children and my husband, and we had 2 shopping bags which were full of flasks and containers and so on. And I recently got rid of them, I must say, because they were catering for 4. But we're hoping we may do a picnic at the Centenary Gardens in Onken. The Woodland Trust have planted a lot of trees up there, and we're hoping to get Friends of the Earth and Woodland Trust and people together to have a picnic there.
Sounds terrific.
And I'll bring my flask and box.
And your own mug.
Yes, my own mug.
And Breeshey, you said you're already out and about doing quite a few.
Yes, that's it. I mean, obviously we're trying to do a DEFA one, but I mean, there's just that many popping up around the island that I just think that that everyone else is kind of getting on with it and doing it. And in my personal life, I mean, I'm a little bit feral, so I'm always out and about, and you can usually find me on a beach somewhere and just munching on whatever I've brought with me. So I'm excited to see what everyone does.
I tell you one thing that caught my eye as well, and they were talking about in the notes of the various groups that can get involved. So you can have your own personal one, family ones, whatever, themed ones, businesses, organisations, schools, charities, and chess clubs.
We haven't actually seen any chess clubs sign up yet, unfortunately. But yes, I just thought I didn't want to miss anyone out. I didn't want to kind of,
Call to arms for all chess
Yeah, I
clubs.
was going to say, if you're out there
Chess
and you're in a
clubs
chess
now,
club,
You said bridge players, you
Yeah,
might get a
you-
good response. 'Cause
Well, this
there
is it,
seems
I
to be
mean-
a lot of people who play bridge on the island.
Why not
so-
play bridge at a picnic?
Yes.
Lovely. Well, it's a great idea. Hopefully we'll get some of the weather for it. If not, as we've suggested here, you can have your Manx picnic and you go out and you can go into shelter. I had a lovely picnic one time, a barbecue breakfast just down here on Douglas Head, and it was lamping down with the rain. It was, I have to say, when the old shelter was there. There used to be that old Victorian shelter. We all sat in there and had a picnic in there many years ago.
Very
So
nice.
I'll put you on the spot then. You're going out for your picnic. What are you going to bring for your picnic? What are your favourite picnic foods? Those foods, you know things like you usually can eat with your fingers and such like, isn't it? So what's the best thing if you're going to need a picnic? What's the food for you?
So for me, it's anything the kids aren't going to steal. So I need
Vegetables
strong
then.
cheeses.
Blue cheese, yeah.
I need, like homemade scones. Actually, they don't bother with those, especially if they've got cheese in. So.
there's no icing on top.
Yeah, literally, that's for me. Anything savoury that I think they'll go for other stuff, and I can just enjoy it. So, yeah, no, I love a good homemade cheese scone. That's probably or even some Manx bonnet. Actually, they wouldn't bother with that either. So.
What's in your basket, Adrian?
Well, when I summit, so I would do a lot of walking and climbing, and so I always take a pie. So when I get to the top, my reward is always a pie. So it would be a Morgan's pie, would be my. But another little tip would be to invest in a good coat. So I think don't wait for the sun to come out. We all, as a family, have all invested in decent coats, so we go out whatever the weather. Don't let that put you off.
Sarah, you'll have a good coat already, obviously, but
Yeah, you'd like to think, wouldn't you? We'd go for sausage rolls. Genuinely, we make our own sausage rolls. They're actually dead easy to
Now we're
make,
talking.
so it's they're not a hassle, and I know everyone's going to eat them. I think personally for me, what I actually really like is when you go out camping, you have kippers. Love kippers when you're out camping; they're just gorgeous.
yeah.
And then just also for me, but usually for all the kids as well, is cake. But what's great about that is kids will make the cakes as well. If you keep an eye on them, use a bit of laxy flour, it makes brilliant cakes. So cakes and sausage rolls would be the basic picnic.
Sounds
Yeah.
good to me. Anything to add to that, Muriel? Cakes, kippers, sausage rolls?
Well, I'll keep it in the family because my nephew has got a nursery in Derby where the sun always shines, and he grows strawberries.
Oh.
Most delicious strawberries that actually smell like strawberries
Strawberries.
and taste like
Yeah.
strawberries.
Smell of
And
summer.
with a bit of Manx cream, I think that would be ideal.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Manx straubs, as I call them, because they are just different, aren't they? They're so sweet and juicy. But for me, I'm going to say a good old-fashioned homemade Manx potato salad with red skin potatoes, a bit of rosemary, and I like to throw in some beetroot as well because I love beetroot, especially on the Isle of Man when it's grown here. It's just beautiful.
I love a bit of beetroot, and for what it's worth, I'll stay simple and go back to my childhood. And I do have a few hens, so a fresh hen laid egg from the back garden.
Nice boiled egg.
Boiled egg. It has to have salt, of course.
Oh, yes.
Or,
Yes.
if I'm feeling really fancy, truffle mayonnaise.
Ooh, very posh. And we've got that Manx sea salt now, so you can sprinkle.
Yeah, I
sprinkle
haven't
them
tried
in.
that yet,
It's
you know.
delicious.
I'm
They
gonna
do one
try
with
that.
rosemary as well. I love the rosemary one.
I'm going to try that.
Scotch
Terrific.
eggs is the
Scotch
ultimate
eggs.
portable
Oh,
picnic,
yeah.
I think, isn't
Yeah,
it?
you see, it's all starting now.
Complete meal.
Scotch egg
hungry.
as well. We should organise a picnic between us
Yes.
here, really, shouldn't we? It's a shame we couldn't do it. Terrific fun. Whatever you're doing, go out and all the information available via the website.
Yeah, www.biosphere.im, and we've got a whole page dedicated to the bee. And at any point, if you need any direct guidance, please feel free to email biosphere@gov.im. And yeah, we're happy to help with anything at all.
Celebrate your community, celebrate your environment, celebrate local food and sustainability. It's what it's all about, just making you think, but get out there and, of course, have fun. But you can have fun whilst thinking about these really worthy issues. And I'm getting hungry now because we've been talking about strawberries and sausage rolls or whatever, and hopefully the sun will come out and we'll get out and have a picnic. So whatever you're doing, have fun.
Thank you very much. Lovely, thank you.